Time is running out to make your voice heard for the Ark TLC in 2026. If you don't act now, your favorite creatures might miss their chance at a much needed overhaul. In this video, we're going to reveal the top 10 Ark creatures that are most likely to get that TLC based on your votes, and why your input today is crucial to shaping the future of these dinos. Going from least urgent to most urgent, in at number 10, we have got the Anki. Now, something which this creature could benefit from right from the get-go, it's a much better weight stat. I'm sure we can all agree we've been around on the Anki, and that weight has maxed out way too quickly, even if we've got an incredibly high level dino. Personally, I think more weight would do great, and going hand in hand with that would be better mobility. If you think about the Doedicurus, that creature's got a roll. That's a really cool ability. I personally love that ability, and if the Anki could have something like that as well, going round, it would be amazing for mobility. Ankis are always slow, a pain to use. Where you can carry them around with an RG, they still are a little bit of a pain. And also, if we think of creatures like the Stego, it's got its different plate modes. If we had different spike modes for the Anki, for defense, for damage, etc., for mobility, even if there was a separate mobility one where those spikes retract through, or a really cool spin ability, stunning creatures like the Barry can do underwater, I think that would be great as well. And something lastly about the Anki, it makes absolutely no sense to me that this creature does not have a smithy on its saddle. Like, it is literally a metal gathering creature. A forge would also be a great option as well, but I feel like the smithy makes more sense considering this creature does not give out heat. Moving up the list, we have now got the Megalodon, one of the first, if not the first, ocean creature introduced to the game, and now it sits in relative obscurity. While it does have the bleed ability now, thanks to a previous update, there is still a lot which can be done to the Megalodon to make it a much more useful and viable creature. Personally, I think for starters, improved mobility would be great. If there was a speed dash that you could do running through the water, I think that would already level up this creature. But I feel like mostly where it comes into this is if we had some stealth abilities. If you think of movies like Jaws, you've got that fin moving around. Having an ability to sneak and go around stealthily in the deep waters, I think would personally be really cool with the Megalodon. Also, the ability to hold onto creatures like the Megalosaurus. If you grab something and it tries to run away, you run away with it, I think is really a cool concept for the Megalodon. And personally, I'd love to see it with the Megalodon. So I feel like improved ability is going to be great. A speed dash could be great as well. Some stealth abilities, perhaps even a cloak ability. It doesn't have to be entirely realistic. And the ability to hold onto creatures as well as they run away from you. With the bleed, of course, going into that perhaps with a Deinonychus style bleed, when you do that ability, I think would personally make the Megalodon a much more viable creature. Continuing in the theme of ocean creatures, the Plesiosaur is up next. A really cool creature when it initially released, but now it is very, very evidently dated. I think something which would be great is more mobility, not perhaps in the sense of more speed, but turning this thing around can be a bit of a pain. If it had a much nicer turning circle, I think that would already go wonders for this creature. Improved damage and, bite radius would also be great, because man, is it difficult to hit things with the Plesiosaur, I find, with such a small hitbox for the bite radius sometimes. I feel like a bleed and grabbing to creatures ability like the Megalodon, albeit maybe with some smaller creatures, its head is not as big as the Megalodon's, could be something great for the Plesiosaur as well. And a massive thing is the platform saddle is just vastly out of date. Having a much improved platform saddle with also smithy and a larger size could go a long way to making the platform saddle on this creature a heck of a lot better. Now, the Carno has been a long favourite of mine, and to see it on this list really does warm my heart. But what can we do to make the Carno an even better creature? Personally, a first nag of mine is a lower saddle level. It always seems like the Carno really can't outcompete the Allo, and the saddle levels are so similar. I think that is an unfair ground in the first place, so perhaps a lower saddle level could go a long way for making this creature a lot more accessible to players earlier in the game. A smithy saddle, again, I think would be great on this creature as well. I'm going to bring it up a lot in this video, but I personally think smithy saddles are a great way to boost a creature's popularity. It just adds extra to the creature, makes them more versatile. An improved mobility with the Carno would be great, perhaps with a charge attack. You can charge forward with your head, perhaps a little bit like what the Packy can do, but just, you know, obviously a little bit amped up, and with possibly torpor abilities as well. You could knock out creatures with this, and also perhaps better meat gathering abilities could be quite good with this Carno as well. If you had a proper flesh ripping ability where you can just rip flesh off of creatures even though they're still alive, and still get meat off of them and still get hide off of them, could be a really cool ability. And then obviously with that you're going to get bleed damage, and perhaps Deinonychus bleed would be good here. Now the Bronto is a creature which I haven't really used, and for that reason I feel like it makes sense that it is on this list. So what I'm going to give for the Bronto is better movement. I would love to see especially a better turning circle and a higher stam stat, because I'm always running out of stam with a Bronto. Just because it's a big creature should not mean that its stam stat is terrible, because its movement is already awful to start with, and the fact that its stamina is terrible makes no sense. Like, come on, let me have some more stamina on this thing, or let me have some more movement on this thing. A better turning circle would also be great, like a sort of turn on the spot ability, I think could be quite nice. A special gathering ability could be quite nice, or a gathering bonus that you could get, so you're on such a big creature that maybe you get a 2 times 3 times yield on the things that you're gathering. I personally think that would actually be really nice to see with the Bronto. It's such a big creature, you could really make it a gathering masterpiece, and it could gather so many things. You could even use it if you hit your tail against rocks hard enough, you can pull them up, and then you can get so much metal out of them as well. That might be a really cool ability, but perhaps makes the Anki a little bit useless. But also a better platform saddle here would be great as well. Platform saddles are generally outdated. Again, something to do with, like, you can have smithy abilities within the platform saddle would be really cool. I feel like the size is reasonably good, but perhaps just a few extra features to the platform saddle would be quite nice as well. Now the Thyla is something which I really didn't expect on this list, and you know, I don't really have much to say about the Thyla in terms of what it would be good for TLC, as I didn't really expect it to be here. But I would say having a Deinonychus style bleed would be really good for the Thyla, although perhaps it makes the Deinonychus less useful in that sense. A better stam stats would be great for the Thyla as well, because when you're running around on it, I do find oftentimes you run out of stamina pretty quickly. Maybe, you know, if you've got the Iguanodon, it's on all 4s. Perhaps if you had the ability there where you're on all 4s on the Thyla, then you could get infinite stam and you wouldn't run out of stam. Or maybe if you just killed something, then you had like 30 seconds of infinite stam and you could just get away. Maybe a little bit of a speed boost if you just killed something as well. You got that bleed buff going through, you got all that energy, and also perhaps maybe the regen buff that you get with the RG when they scavenge and things. I know the Thyla isn't really much of a scavenger, but that could be quite nice. An ability after you kill creatures, essentially, maybe sort of a rage thing where you just have so much power and so much energy. Maybe a bar that builds up like the Shadowmane could be pretty cool as well, and also a better weight stat I think would be pretty nice on this creature as well. Now we're into the top 4 and the 4 creatures that would get the TLC if the votes ended right now, but that is why you can change it. So if there's any creatures before on the list that you really liked and you want to get up there, then make sure to put your votes in. I will tell you how to do that at the end of the video, but let's get into the 4th option, and it is the Quetzal. And what I can say about the Quetzal, this was originally the beast of the skies, the most dominant creature out there. You could pump speed into this thing like all hell, and building a base on the back of this thing with a platform saddle, it was just the go-to in my opinion. So what can we do to make the Quetzal better, as is now a much outdated Ark creature by today's standards? The first thing is more speed and more mobility. Personally, the Quetzal really needs it. Perhaps a way to level up speed on flyers, although I don't really expect that with the Quetzal because flyer speed leveling has been gone for a while now. More stamina would be great with a creature like this as well. While it does have good stam, even more would perhaps be amazing as well. And coming back to the speed side of things, if there was a dash ability that you could do with the Quetzal, sort of pushing it through a little bit more, getting a little bit more speed on this thing, or perhaps even a tech saddle with like jets on it or something, you could add some jets onto the platform saddle and then go even faster through the skies. Generally, a better movement and ability for turning around would be amazing as well. Perhaps a little size upgrade to the platform saddle would be nice as well. The ability to pick up larger creatures I think could be nice as well, and pick up vaults like the Ronin Gnatha can, and a smithy saddle as well. I said it would come up a lot, and I think it really does make sense in this instance. Top 3 now, and we have got the Aranio. Not a creature I think about much, but I have talked about it being one of the worst Ark creatures before. And there's 3 things which I would change about this creature to make it one of the best, or at least sort of Bloodstalker levels, let's say. Wall climbing and wall slinging is the top of my list. Having the Aranio able to climb walls and sling like the Bloodstalker can, it is a spider after all, makes a heck of a lot of sense in my opinion. If the Aranio could do this, I think it would already win over multiple players' hearts. And we can really play into the abilities here of the fact that cave creatures don't aggro to you when you're riding on the Aranio. If it had a heck of a lot more mobility, then it would be very, very useful in those cave run circumstances. You go in with an Aranio, the creatures don't aggro onto you, you just sneak through, you can sneak through and then sling from the walls and climb on the walls and do whatever, get in and get out as quick as you possibly can. Some more damage and more health would also be great as well. The attack of the Aranio is pretty weedy, and the health is rather lackluster. In number 2, we've got the Megalosaurus. I talked about this earlier actually when I was talking about the Megalodon with one of its abilities, and it already is a pretty heavy ability packed creature, but there's still some stuff which can be done to this creature to make it even better. Now, its main characteristic is the fact that it is just an absolute beast at night, but I do think some utility in the day would be good rather than it just fully going to sleep. Perhaps just more reduced stam, like 50% stam, perhaps just a little bit less of a you just can't use this creature in the day, because that certainly does hinder it. Although on Aberration it is an absolute insane beast that works all the time, and it's really cool how that works specifically on that map. But some cool new abilities could be nice, specifically to do with the stealth of this creature. You know, we've recently just got the Mega Raptor on Valguera Ascended, and having these stealth abilities through the night, a bit like that creature, would be really nice. Having a cloak ability like the Rock Drake has, for instance, and having a sort of shield ability when you attack creatures as well. Having a little bit more mobility with the creature as well. Perhaps a dash run, you know, perhaps a better jump, perhaps maybe even some wall climbing abilities, although limited because it could get a little bit mental there. And if you have a creature in your mouth, let's say, you get rapid healing like you would with the RG, the rapid regeneration. There's some cool extra things you could do to this creature to make it an even better one, which more people use, because I generally find on most maps, unless it's Av, people don't go for these creatures as they're in caves and they're a bit of a pain to get, and they don't really offer anything that a creature like an Aloe or a Carno would. And I'm sure we could all see the number 1 creature coming. We have got the Giga, and the thing that I feel like really makes the difference here is the stamina. The stamina on the Giga is absolutely awful. It is abysmal. Literally every 10 seconds, you're out of stamina. You're out of stamina. This is supposed to be a big, powerful, monstrous creature, and in today's Ark, it really is not that, especially considering it is heavily debuffed after you tame the wild version going into the tamed version. And with creatures like the Crocodontosaurus coming around, this creature looks even worse than it ever has done before. Now, of course, this made sense in 2015 Ark, when everything else was much weaker than it is today. But now it really does fall behind a lot of more recent creatures, especially the Crocodontosaurus, sort of, in my eyes, really a direct replacement for it. And it's nice to see that the Giga is at the top of this list, getting some love, as I do think it does deserve a lot more respect, as the Crocodontosaurus has overshadowed it. Firstly, stamina would be great. A lot of people also want a more realistic size with this creature, and I think that could add a cool niche to this creature where it looks a little bit different. It adds a new personality to the creature, let's say. The rage buff as well, while cool and makes sense for 2015 Ark, perhaps nerf that a little bit in the sense of you need to deal way more damage for that rage buff to apply, as again, new creatures, they are much stronger. And the last thing I can really say about the Giga is just give it its wild stats, because they are OP, and oh my god, with a Giga Tame like this, having those wild stats, it has been a long time coming since the release, and to actually get those stats would be amazing. Again, improved Dino Bleed, like the Deinonychus Bleed, when I say Dino Bleed, will be great as well. Maybe even a Giga Platform saddle could be pretty cool, or like a Giga Turret saddle. You had some turrets on the saddle for some extra damage output, but I'd say the main thing, keep it like the original wild one, much better stamina, and you know, maybe lower that rage buff a little bit. Any creatures you liked here? Well, now it is up to you to make your difference, as your votes can change every single position on this list, although I feel like the Giga's going to stay in the #1 spot. So go vote on the Ark Extra Life 2025. Just search that into Google or whatever search engine you use and vote, and see if your vote makes a difference. They'll be revealed throughout November, and you've got till the end of this month to vote. And if you're seeking any other Ark news first, why don't you go and look at this video about what I think about Ark Valkyrie Ascended, since it's a new release and you might want to get some insight. And give it up for our patrons, Ekaterina Puchkova and Karina Thorne, Dominic Macy-Juski, sorry about that name, and everyone else that's on this list. All the people I've mentioned are paid members, and if you feel like that's something you want a shout out at the end of the video, go join the Patreon or become a paid YouTube member.